Paraklamidal, the 34th chapter of the book of Tehillim, is also a chapter that is recited every single Shabbat, and it is also a chapter that you'll see is an acrostic. We've got Aleph Bet Gimel, so let's get the chapter started. LeDavid, Bishanoto et Ta'amo Lifnei Avimelech, Vayigar Shehu Vayelach. So this is when David feigned madness before Avimelech, who drove him away, and he departed. We have sometimes in the Tehillim, as we've seen, chapters that express a moment in David's life, something that occurred, something that happened. David was running away from his son Avshalom, when David was in the cave, this one is after, early on, when David was chased and had to run away from his father-in-law who wanted to kill him. He tries to run to the Philistines, to the Plishtim. We know the Philistines. The Plishtim are the enemies of the Jews in the book of Shoftim, in the book of Shmuel. That's who the big battles are with. The Philistines destroy the Mishkan in Shiloh in the beginning of the book of Shmuel, which is part of the reason why there is a king. And so David runs to the enemy to be safe. But David, when he's going to the enemy, it's reported that the Plishtim, when he's taken towards the king says, "Whoa!" The king is told, "This is David, who they sang, Saul by the thousands, David by the tens of thousands. This is our greatest enemy." And so David acts like a lunatic. He acts crazy in order to appear that he's not the same person, and he should be, given a bone. He should be given some sort of kindness by the king of the one of the Philistine kings. I don't remember if it's the king of Gath, and we have one of the most famous lines, my more favorite, I should say, lines in the Tanakh to me, when the Philistine king says about taking in David, who's acting like he's crazy with spit running down his mouth, and he says, "Chaser mishugaimani." Do I not have enough madmen already? Don't I have enough lunatics? Do I need another one? One of the great lines of all time. So sorry, but that's seemingly where this is happening after the king of Avimelech says, "Chaser mishugaimani." I have enough madmen. Get rid of David. I don't need any more lunatics. And so what does David say after that? Avarchat Adonai b'cholei tamid tihilato b'fi. I will bless God at all times. His praise is always in my mouth. Badonai titalal nafshi, yishmuu anavim v'yismachu. My soul sort of gets the glory. I get glory by God. Let the humble hear and rejoice. So here we have praising to God, and continue with the pasuk Dalet with the letter Gimel. It would be better if we would make the opening passage like a introduction, and then Aleph would start with the Aleph, and Beis would start with the Beis, and Gimel would start with the Gimel for simplicity. But pasuk Dalet, Gadlu la'Adonai uti u'neramamo shemo yachtav. Magnify, make great the name of God, and let us together exalt. Let us together call out His name. A pasuk that we know, of course, well when we're bringing the Torah back. Gadlu la'Hashem uti u'neramamo shemo yachtav. Right? Darashti at Adonai va'anani. Umikol Megurotai Hatzilani. So here he says, David talks now in the second part, where he talks about his deliverance, how he was saved. I searched out, I was searching for God. We've had this word doresh many times, the idea of searching, seeking God, and God answered me, and he delivered me from all of my enemies, from all of my fears. Hey, bitu elav, the hey v'naharu. They looked to him, and they became, here the word nahar, something we think where nahar is being like a river, but it also is related. It's also related to the idea nuhara of being lit up. So they looked to God, and they were radiant. They became, their eyes shone. Ufnehem el yechparu, and their faces were not ashamed. They were not abashed. Ze ani kara Adonai Shamea umikol Saratav Hoshia. The poor man, this ani, this nobody cries, and God hears, and God saves him from all of his trouble. So right here again, what we have is the idea of God saving. We have one more seemingly verse of that nature. Chonem malach Adonai saviv lireav Vayichal Tsein. This was Pasuk 8, Pasuk Chet, verse 8. The angel of God encamps around those who fear him and rescues them. So David, right, on the run, is its self-description. It's, of course, it's, again, the book of Tehillim might be written in the first person. Sometimes, as we said before, it then goes into the plural, but it's the book for the every man, the every woman, everybody who's running away, everybody who's having difficult times. And here God, we're being told, answers their answers their prayers, excuse me. Tamu uru'u ki tov Adonai, ashrei hagever yechesebo. So now God has saved the ani, the poor person, the person who is running away, and now we're being told the description how great God is. Tamu, taste, uru, and see that God is good. Praiseworthy, happy is the man who seeks refuge in God. Yeru et Adonai kidoshav, ki ein machsor lire'av, a verse that we know from the end of Birkat Hamazon. Fear God, you his holy ones, for those who fear him lack nothing. Kefir mashu v'ro'e vu v'dorshei Adonai lo yechseru chol tov. The young lions are poor and hungry, right? Presumably that refers to the wicked, okay, or it means that they have been the poor have been robbed by the wicked, but those who seek God do not lack anything; they have everything. So right, the wicked might be running after a God, but it doesn't work out. So here, right, those who trust in God are the ones who have. And now we offer going from right, God's kindness and seeking out God and praising God. Now we sort of turn to the next section in this psalm, which is how one should try to connect with God. Lechubanim shimuli. So come, children, listen to me. Right. So he is a teacher of children? Is it just sort of my students, whomever it is, come and listen to me. Yirat Adonai alam medchem. I will teach you the fear of God. And here probably the most famous verses in this chapter, a lot of famous verses. Kadlula Shemiti, Nitzor mi ha'ish hechafetz chayim. Who is the man who desires life? Ohev yamim lirotov, who loves days to see good, who wants to say a lie, right? Who loves to see good days, who loves to see good things, different ways of exactly understanding the verse exactly. But you want good things, you want to see goodness in the world. What should you do? Nitzor lishoncha meira usfatecha medaber mirma. So number one, guard your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking deceit, something that we've had really more in the beginning of the book, where we talked about the wicked and they're flattering their lip, and they're saying one thing and meaning something else. You've probably heard of one of the great rabbis of the late 19th and early 20th century, Rav Yisrael Meir HaKohen Kagan, who was better known as the Chafetz Chaim, wrote his book about Lashon Hara, the laws of Lashon Hara. The idea of speech and how one speaks. And as I think it was my father's friend, Effie Buchwald, I mentioned this at some point, who had said, you should be more concerned about what goes out of your mouth than what comes into your mouth. Such a Judaism, kashrut and Shabbat. Let's worry about how we speak, what we speak, who we speak about, what we're speaking about. You want good life, you want good things, so let's start with enough with the gossip, enough with the evil talk, enough, etc., etc. Chafetz Chaim, you want life? That's number one. Number two, Surah Meira v'aseh tov, turn away from evil and do good. Bakesh shalom v'rodfehu, seek peace and pursue it. The first half of this verse knows sort of a great principle in Jewish life. You want to reform your behavior, you want to do tshuva, you want to do better. First, stay away from the evil, and then, right, do good. And seek peace and pursue it. The idea of peace, the idea of shalom. There's a cute idea in the first words of this verse, attributed, I believe, to the Baal Shem Tov. Whether he said it or not, it's very much in line with his thinking, where he said, Sur meira v'aseh tov, right? Turn away from evil. But then from that evil, he sort of reinterprets it as turn the evil, v'aseh tov, into good. Sort of a Hasidic notion, mystical notion that everything in the world has sparks of glory. You can do great things with anything, no matter what it is. So Surah Meirah, instead of like turn away from evil, sort of turn the evil into something good. You can look at that glass as half empty, or you can make it into being half full. You can make whatever it is. Most objects in this world, most things that we encounter can be used for used for things that are beneficial, or can be used for things that are detrimental. Either way. Verse 16, Va'oznav el shavatam. The eyes of God are towards the righteous, and his ears are open to their cry. The face of God is against those who do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. So after the Mishra, after David is explaining how you should turn to God, what you should do, seek peace, turn away from evil, don't speak ill. Right? He's saying, and this is what we see amongst the righteous, right? They turn to God. They're looking to God, like we said in earlier phrases. Shiviti Hashem. Earlier Tehillim, was it 22 or so? Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tam, and I keep God opposite. I keep God next to me all the time. My face is to God. It's against those who do evil. Sa'aku in verse 18, pasuk Yudchet. Sa'aku va'Adonai shamea umikol sarotam hitzilam. They cry to God, and God hears them. He delivers them from all of their troubles. Karov Adonai lenishbere lev, v'et dakei ruach yoshia. God is near to those with a broken heart, and he saves those of a contrite spirit. In this verse specifically, God should be near anybody, whether they have a broken heart or not. I think back to the beginning of the book of Shmuel, to Hannah with her broken heart and her praying to God. All she wants is a child. And I think also of the idea in the Torah that if you take a pledge, a poor person borrows money from you, take a pledge, you take a shirt or something to make sure he'll return your money. The Torah says that you need to return that shirt, you need to return his pajamas every day, lest he goes and prays to God, and God's going to hear the cry out of the brokenhearted, of the poor, who does not even have anything to keep him warm. Bameh yishkav, that God will hear his cries more so, and that won't be good for the person who's holding on to that pledge, holding on to that object. Continuing in verse 20, Rabot ra'ot tzadik umikulam yatzilenu Adonai. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but God delivers him from them all. Now, this is an interesting verse in a sense to me. When it says that many are the afflictions of the righteous, or it's only the righteous who have many afflictions. Doesn't everybody have? I mean, it shouldn't be everybody, but pretty much everybody has afflictions. Doesn't matter if you're, doesn't matter. You think you're healthy, somebody gets sick. You think you're wealthy, you have a bad business proposal. Right? Everybody goes through troubles in life, but presumably from this verse, the difference is that God saves, God brings back, helps the righteous from all of their troubles. Shomer kol atzmotav achat mehena lo nishbara. He keeps all of his bones; none of them, not one of them is broken. Does this mean that if you're righteous, you never break a bone? I don't think I'm that righteous. I think I broke only a pinky toe in my life. Lucky me. You say al tiftach pele satan, don't give an entrance for the satan to come in. And so, but right, God's protection, it's saying here is great, is all consuming. No troubles, no bones breaking. All of the perceived problems, or all of the problems, have been healed. Tomotot rasha ra'au sneat tzadik ye'eshamu. Evil will kill the wicked, and those who hate righteousness will be held guilty. God redeems the soul of his servants, and none of those who seek refuge in him will be held guilty. They will not. The evil will not befall them. So another chapter here, and obviously, there's some very nice ideas in the chapter, verses that we know. Galula Shemiti, glorify God with me. We're bringing back the Torah, glorify God. Mi'aisha Chafetz Chaim, who wants life? Watch what you say, and stay away from evil, or maybe transform something that could be evil into something that could be beneficial rather than detrimental. And of course, it's a chapter that that while that has a lot of theological difficulties in it. The idea that the afflictions of the righteous, God delivers them from all, that God protects all of the bones, that they right the those who are wicked will be held guilty, is a difficult chapter, because we know, unfortunately, that it's not necessarily the case in life. And so I don't think that means that, oh, this bad thing happens to me, I'm wicked. I don't think that that's the way we should do it. And of course, we've mentioned in the past, the world, understanding the rabbis, the world is run differently these days, as opposed to the biblical period when there were these outright miracles. And right, God's, if you would be punished right away, you'd be rewarded right away. God was so evident, nisim niglim, miracles that were apparent and obvious to all. As opposed to the world as it's run today is not that way. But when we think about this chapter, to me, the major thing to think about, of course, I think, at least for me, is mi ha'isha chafetz chaim, who wants life? Speak good, speak nicely. Enough with ill talk, enough talking about other people, especially not nice things about other people. That's not the way if you want to have a good life, and that's not a way when you want things to generally be good in the world. And to me, more than anything else, that is what when I think of this chapter, I take away, and hopefully, at least I try to incorporate into my own life.